The ocean is vast, deep, and cruelly silent. It hides more than shipwrecks and forgotten islands. It buries secrets, memories, and sometimes entire lives. For every crashing wave, there's a story lost in its undertow. Survivors speak of strange signals, ghostly lights, or voices where no soul should be. These aren't sailor myths. They're records, confessions, warnings. If you thought the forest was scary, wait until the water starts whispering back. It doesn't matter how skilled you are, or how advanced your boat is, the sea plays by different rules. GPS glitches, radios fail, fog moves like it's alive, and if you're too far from land, no one will hear your screams. Several people have ventured out with friends and returned alone, unable to explain what happened. Sometimes, not even remembering how they got back. And the worst part, the sea always keeps something behind. There are places marked as safe on maps, but locals know better. They avoid them. Small, nameless islands that shift location, harbors where shadows move across the water at night, zones where compasses spin like roulette wheels. These aren't hallucinations caused by sunstroke. They've been documented in logbooks, black box recordings, and a few written accounts of those who never dared return. You'll soon hear from some of them. What they saw was real. These are the kinds of stories captains never report. Coast guards bury the tapes. Families refuse to speak about them, but the truth seeps out through static in radio signals, through shattered boats drifting back to port, through survivors whose minds never fully came home. You don't need to believe in the supernatural. You only need to look at the ocean long enough. Eventually, it looks back, and when it does, it remembers. What you're about to hear isn't fiction. It's based on real cases. Stories pulled from logs, police reports, and first-hand accounts too strange to ignore. No, this isn't a campfire tale. It's a warning, because when you leave land behind, you also leave the rules of the living. These are 3 terrifying ocean horror stories, and if you're ever out at sea alone, try not to listen too closely to the waves. These stories will make you question every ripple, every foghorn, every call from the deep. So if you're brave enough to dive in, we're about to begin. Subscribe if you dare, and comment where you're watching from, if you're brave enough. In March 2009, a private research vessel called the Asteria was mapping underwater terrain in the North Pacific. It was a calm night, no storms in the area, and the crew of 6 was running sonar tests. Around 11:40 p.m., they picked up an unexpected signal, an old distress beacon, broadcasting Morse code from open water. The signal repeated the same 3 letters, over and over, SONAS. But the coordinates led to nowhere, just open ocean. The ship's radio tech, Jordan Reyes, double-checked the source. The frequency came from an analog system, decades old. He recognized the pattern as US Navy standard. Phased out in the 80s, the others assumed it was interference, but Jordan insisted the signal was active and moving. When they triangulated, it pointed northeast, toward a patch of sea with no registered traffic. Their curiosity, and maybe something deeper, made them change course. That's when things got strange. By midnight, they'd reached the area. Fog surrounded the Asteria like a wall, thick and sudden, despite satellite readings showing clear skies. They couldn't see more than 5 feet past the bow. The ocean was dead still, no waves, no sound. And yet, the signal got stronger. Now it wasn't just Morse code. A faint voice cut through. Please respond. Coordinates unstable. We need help. But no call sign, no ship name. Only static and pleading. Captain Flores ordered the crew to scan visually. No ship appeared, no lights in any direction. Yet the sonar showed something massive beneath them, a structure moving slowly, matching their heading. When they turned off the engine, the signal stopped. Everything went silent. That silence lasted for 5 minutes. Then a single word came through the radio. Help. Jordan stepped away from the equipment. He swore he could hear someone breathing through the speaker. Without warning, the lights on deck dimmed. The backup generator flickered. The fog deepened into something almost black. Then the ship's navigation computer rebooted on its own. When it came back online, a new coordinate had been entered, untraceable. Just raw numbers. Captain Flores cursed and ordered it deleted. But the screen glitched again, restoring the numbers. Below deck, crew member Ellis reported hearing something knocking from the hull. 4 taps, then silence. Then again. The temperature dropped. One of the crew's thermometers read -20. The sea around them remained calm, no ice in sight. Jordan tried to record the signal, but his equipment wouldn't save the file. It erased every few seconds. The captain, now visibly shaken, ordered a full reverse course. But the boat wouldn't move. The propellers spun, the engines ran, yet they remained stationary. It was as if the water beneath them had turned solid. A scream came from below deck. Ellis had vanished. His jacket was found in the engine room, soaking wet, though there was no leak. The hatch was locked from the inside. No one saw him again. Flores tried to call for help, but their long-range radio only played back their own voices from 10 minutes earlier, as if the ocean was looping time itself. The fog thickened, and the vessel began to rotate slowly in place. Jordan stayed on the radio, trying to reason with whatever was on the other end. At 3:17 a.m., a woman's voice responded, soft, almost mechanical. "Don't leave. You heard us. Now you're part of the broadcast." Then static again. The signal died, and the silence returned. It wasn't peaceful. It was full of pressure, like the ocean was listening, watching, waiting. The water beneath them began to ripple outward, forming perfect concentric circles with no source. By sunrise, the fog lifted as suddenly as it came. The ship moved again, systems rebooted. The sonar was clear. No sign of Ellis, no voice, just calm ocean and confused silence. When they returned to port, no one believed their report. The coordinates they logged didn't exist. The audio recordings were blank. The SOS logs vanished from their systems. Only Jordan insisted it was real. He said something was still trying to connect. Through him, a month later, Jordan was found adrift in a lifeboat off the Alaskan coast. No memory of how he got there. The last thing he remembered was waking up in bed and hearing the signal again, coming from his bedroom mirror. His wife said he hadn't spoken for days, only tapping Morse code into the table, SOS. He was committed to a psychiatric ward, but sometimes, during storms, the hospital radios still pick up static. They say the ocean never gives back what it takes, but sometimes, it leaves pieces behind, broken minds, scrambled signals, fragments of things too large to explain. The crew of the Asteria never sailed again. The ship was sold, stripped, and renamed. But to this day, no new owner keeps it for long. One night, without warning, the radios always power on, and the same 3 letters come through, over and over, as authorities called it, a technical malfunction, a psychotic break, maritime hallucination. But no official explanation accounts for the black fog, the malfunctioning instruments, or the missing man. Even the company that hired the crew went silent after the report, as if they'd seen it before, as if they'd expected it. The coordinates remain unlisted. The government denies any interest, but certain sailors say, if you're out there long enough, the signal will find you too. There's a reason some areas of the ocean are labeled dead zones. Not because of wildlife, but because of what listens there. Some things drift beneath the waves, not sunken ships, but memories, programs, presences, and if you answer their call, you become the next signal. Maybe the Asteria wasn't the first to hear it. It won't be the last. And if you ever hear an old radio whispering help, whatever you do, don't respond. In July 2017, 4 friends chartered a small motorboat in the Bahamas to explore hidden beaches. Locals warned them not to sail past a certain point, an area they called the shifting zone, but the group dismissed it as superstition. GPS showed a tiny island not marked on any tourist map. It looked perfect. White sand, turquoise water, and a circle of palm trees. No buildings, no boats, just untouched paradise. Or so it seemed. The island had no dock, but they anchored and waited ashore. Something felt off immediately. The silence. No birds, no insects, not even waves crashing, just wind brushing the palms. Jake, the one who'd found the island online, swore he'd read about it in an old forum. Siren Key, someone called it, said it vanished from satellite view sometimes. The others laughed, unpacked beers, and set up hammocks. But Marissa kept glancing back at the boat. They explored the island's interior and found something strange. Ropes tied between trees, like makeshift boundaries. Old shoes hung from branches. A shattered compass lay half buried near a fire pit. In a clearing, mirrors were nailed to palm trunks, all cracked, reflecting the dense brush. Probably left from past campers, Jake said, trying to sound calm. But no one ever mentioned cabins or shelters. There were none. Just signs of presence. And the feeling they weren't alone. When they tried to leave before sunset, the boat had drifted far from shore. Too far to swim. The rope that anchored it had been cut cleanly. Jason swore he tied it twice. The current was wrong too. Instead of pulling the boat out to sea, it kept circling the island, as if trapped in its orbit. They called for help, but phones had no signal. Not dead, just searching endlessly. The sky turned dark fast. That night, they built a fire near the beach. Around 1 a.m., they heard whistling coming from the trees. Not wind, a human whistle, slow and melodic. Marissa swore she saw someone watching from behind a palm. When they investigated, they found footprints leading to the northern shore. But they stopped abruptly, like someone had walked into the water and disappeared. Jake joked nervously, maybe the island's haunted. No one laughed. The fire refused to stay lit. By morning, the boat was gone. Not on the horizon. Not beached. Just vanished. Their footprints from the previous day had also disappeared, like the sand had erased them overnight. Jason's compass spun non-stop. Marissa tried to follow the sun to head north, but every path curved back to the beach. The island folded in on itself. Walking in straight lines led them in circles. Every hour, they ended up where they started. Time no longer made sense. They rationed snacks and water. By the second night, they heard whispers coming from the brush, low and musical, almost hypnotic. Jason followed the sound and didn't return. They searched for him until dawn, calling his name. Then they found his sandals and backpack in the clearing with the mirrors. His reflection still lingered in the glass, but his face looked wrong, twisted, smiling. Marissa smashed the mirror, but Jake thought he heard Jason laughing behind them. They avoided the mirrors after that. Jake started carving notches into trees to track their movements, but every morning, the marks were gone. On the 4th day, they found writing on the sand near their camp. "You're home now." Marissa broke down crying. Ellie refused to eat or speak. She just sat by the fire pit, staring into the forest. That night, Jake saw someone standing on the water offshore, not floating, not swimming, just standing. On day 5, Ellie walked into the trees and didn't return. Jake chased her, but the brush swallowed sound. No footprints, no snapped branches. Only the whistling now coming from all directions. When Jake returned to camp, Marissa was gone too. Just her necklace half buried near the extinguished fire. He screamed her name until sunset. Then the whispers answered back in her voice. Calm, sweet. It's better here. Jake, you belong. Stay. He almost did. By some miracle, Jake was found floating on driftwood 2 days later. A cargo ship spotted him, dehydrated, sunburnt, half-conscious. He told the Coast Guard everything. No one believed him. They said the island didn't exist. No record, no coordinates, no sightings. He took them back to where he thought it was. Nothing but open water, not even a sandbar. He was the only one who ever came back. The others were presumed drowned. He knew better. Jake never returned to the ocean, couldn't be near it. He spent years trying to find Siren Key again, checking satellite scans, talking to local fishermen, scouring old legends. Some spoke of an island that calls people in, feeds on them, and lets one go to bring others. A sacrifice, a carrier. Jake eventually stopped speaking. He was found in his apartment, surrounded by hand-drawn maps and mirrors turned to face the wall, all of them cracked. The whispers followed him, even in sleep. He recorded hours of silence on tape recorders, only to hear the whistling when played back. His dreams were always the same. Marissa calling from the trees, Jason's face in the mirrors, Ellie humming from beneath the sand. When he vanished in 2021, his door was locked from the inside. The only clue was a message on his mirror, traced in salt water. "We missed you," and a single wet footprint. To this day, no official chart shows Siren Key, but sailors talk. Some claim they passed a fog-shrouded island where their compasses failed and voices called from the shoreline. Others say they heard whistling at sea on windless nights, a rhythm they couldn't forget. Some turned back, others weren't so lucky. The ocean doesn't just take bodies, it takes memory, direction, sound, and sometimes it offers paradise. Just long enough to keep you still. So if you ever find an island that shouldn't be there, too perfect, too still, too silent, don't go ashore. Don't ignore the missing birds, the broken mirrors, the soft voices calling your name. The ocean has places it hides. Siren Key is one of them. And once you hear the song, it's already too late. You can't leave. You don't want to leave. That's how it works. That's how it feeds. That's how it waits. In 2015, a man named Carter Doyle bought a used fishing boat in Galveston, Texas. It was old, rusted in places, but seaworthy. He planned to live aboard and fish solo in the Gulf of Mexico. The seller had only one warning: don't go below deck after midnight. Carter laughed it off. Superstition, he figured. He cleaned it out, restocked the galley, and set out the next morning. By sundown, he was already miles from shore. The first night passed quietly. Waves rocked the boat gently, the hum of the engine putting him to sleep. But at 2:13 a.m., he woke to faint footsteps below deck. Slow, deliberate. Carter grabbed his flashlight and opened the hatch. No one, just the engine, quiet and cold. He assumed it was the boat settling, but when he looked back at his clock, the time still read to 13. The minute hand hadn't moved. Not once. The second night, it happened again. Same time, same sound. This time, he stayed in his bunk, pretending to sleep. The footsteps circled. A soft knock came from inside the storage locker. 3 short taps, then silence. The next morning, he opened the locker and found water inside. Salt water, but none of his gear was wet. The deck was dry. He checked for leaks and found nothing. Just a lingering coldness that didn't go away. By the 4th night, Carter brought a camera. He set it to record the hatch and kept a flashlight under his pillow. At exactly 2:13 a.m., the boat went still. The water outside seemed to stop moving. He heard the footsteps again, heavier this time. The hatch handle turned, but didn't open, just turned slowly, then stopped. Carter froze. He whispered, "Who's there?" A woman's voice whispered back from beneath the floorboards. "You are?" Carter jumped up, slammed the hatch shut, and spent the rest of the night on the upper deck. At dawn, he checked the camera. The footage was corrupted, save for one frame, a blurry image of a woman, soaked and pale, staring directly into the lens. Her face was blurred, mouth slightly open, eyes black. The metadata on the file had changed. Instead of the date, it read, "She waits." He deleted the file, or thought he did. That day, Carter tried to sail back to shore, but the GPS wouldn't lock. Compass spun wildly. Every landmark he expected to see was gone. No birds, no planes, just sky and water. The boat's engine sputtered, despite being full of fuel. He drifted aimlessly for hours. At sunset, the water grew darker than the sky. He saw something moving beneath the surface, large, slow, just out of focus. It circled the hull once, then vanished. At nightfall, he refused to sleep. He sat with his flashlight aimed at the hatch. The footsteps returned, but this time, they echoed, as if more than one person was below. He heard whispering, too low to understand. The air smelled of wet hair and something rotting. Then came the knock, but it wasn't on the hatch this time. It came from inside the wall behind him. When he turned, water dripped from the ceiling. He panicked and opened the emergency flare. Shot it into the sky. Nothing responded. Radio was dead. The reflection of the flare on the water showed something standing on the deck behind him for just a second. Soaked hair, gray skin, blank face. When he turned, no one was there, but the hatch was open. Below, the storage area was dark, and wet footprints led from the stairs to his bunk. His sheets were damp. The next morning, Carter found pages of his journal rewritten, not in his handwriting. The ink was smeared, as if written underwater. One sentence repeated across 6 pages. Below deck, she waited. He came. He stayed. He didn't remember writing it. Didn't remember sleeping, but the engine was on. The GPS worked again, and land appeared on the horizon. When he docked at a small marina, he told no one what happened, just sold the boat immediately. The new owner didn't last a week. He returned it without explanation, visibly shaken. Said he heard a voice through the hull, begging to be let out. After that, the boat sat unsold for years. Every few months, someone would ask about it. Take it out. Come back changed. Silent. One man was found days later, floating in a lifeboat alone, babbling the same phrase over and over. She's still down there. He never recovered. Locals started calling it the drowned lady's boat. The marina stopped listing it officially, but the boat never rusted, never decayed, as if it refused to die. One mechanic swore he saw a pale handprint on the inside of the lower window, too far down for anyone to reach. Divers who checked the hull reported feeling watched. One even claimed to hear crying underwater. A woman's voice. They refused to go near it again. Carter moved inland, far from the sea, but he never truly escaped. In quiet moments, he swore he heard the knock, 3 short taps. Once on his bedroom wall, once on the floor beneath his feet. He never went to sleep at 2:13 a.m. again, set alarms, played loud music, anything to drown out the sound. But the silence always returned, and in that silence came the footsteps. She'd followed him home. In 2023, Carter disappeared. His apartment was locked from the inside. His shoes were by the door, but the bathtub was full, salt water, nearly overflowing. On the bathroom mirror, written in the steam, was a message. Below deck, you promised. The lights had shorted. The camera on his desk had one photo saved, blurry, distorted. A soaked figure standing just outside his bedroom door. Wet footprints trailed into the hallway, then stopped. The boat still exists. Still docks at the same marina in Galveston. No name on the side. Just rust stains that look like tear tracks. Every few years, someone buys it, thinks it's just a boat, takes it out past midnight. And sometimes, if they listen closely, they hear her steps, her breath, her voice, asking for a promise to be kept. And if they go below deck, she welcomes them, and they never return alone. The ocean is beautiful, but beauty hides danger. It's not just drowning or storms that should terrify you. It's the things without explanation. A boat that drifts but never returns. A signal that answers from nowhere. An island that rewrites your mind. These aren't accidents. They're patterns. Warnings. You don't need to believe in curses to feel their weight. All it takes is one trip too far, and something below the surface will notice. Those who returned from these stories were never the same. Some vanished again. Some lost pieces of themselves they never recovered, and some were never supposed to come back at all. The ocean keeps what it wants, and when it gives something back, you should always wonder, what changed? What followed? What else rose with the tide? Maybe that's why some sailors never talk about what they saw. Because once the sea whispers to you, it never stops. So the next time you find yourself near dark water, far from shore, and something calls your name, don't answer. Don't turn around. Don't follow the sound. Just get back on the boat and leave quickly. Because once you hear it, once you see it, it's already chosen you, and it never lets go.